Meet Wilbur and Orville Wright. Wilbur was the brain, Orville was the vibe. Back then, inventors tried to build planes like giant flying sofas, super stable, heavy, and impossible to move. But the Wright brothers were bike mechanics. They knew that a bike is actually supposed to be unstable. If a bike didn't lean, you could never turn a corner. They realized a plane shouldn't be a bus. It should be a character that the pilot has to actively control every second. How do you turn a plane when there's no road? Think of it like playing a racing game on your phone where you have to tilt the screen to steer. To turn left, you tilt the left side down. The Wright brothers realized they could do this to the wings. They used wires to literally twist the wood and fabric. When the left wing twisted up and the right wing twisted down, the wind would push one side and lift the other. Then they needed to move forward. Everyone else thought propellers were like slapping the water in a pool, just a flat hand hitting the surface to try and move. The Wrights realized the air is actually more like a solid object you can grip. They designed their propeller like a bottle cap. When you twist a cap, it doesn't just spin. It moves down onto the bottle. Their propeller screwed itself into the air, pulling the plane forward. It wasn't a paddle. It was a 100 miles per hour corkscrew. They didn't just wake up and fly. They had to travel 700 miles to a remote beach in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, just to find a place that wouldn't kill them while they tested the first plane. They chose this spot because the wind was like a permanent leaf blower that helped push them up. Plus, the sand was basically a giant beanbag chair. They knew they were going to crash a lot, and they preferred landing on soft sand rather than, solid concrete. But here's the problem. The pro-science books they brought to North Carolina were full of glitches. The math was wrong, especially Smeaton's coefficient, which was inefficient, because every time they tried to fly based on its rules, they almost turned into ballistic missiles with no guidance or control. And that's another way through which they can be with their Heavenly Father, and they don't want to go home yet because they are not done with invention. So they went back to their bike shop and built a wind tunnel out of an old starch box and a fan. They ignored the verified scientists and did their own DIY research. They tested 200 different wing shapes in that box until they found the one that actually worked. By 1903, they were back in Kitty Hawk with the real cheat codes. They flew 4 times that day. Orville lays down on his stomach, no cockpit, no seat belt, just raw audacity. The first flight, 10:35 a.m., lasted 12 seconds. That's a skipped YouTube ad. He went 120 feet. That's about the length of 4 school buses. It was short, it was shaky, and it looked like a glitch, but it was the first time a human actually steered the sky. Flight 2, 11:20 a.m. Wilbur takes over and goes about 175 feet. Flight 3, 11:40 a.m. Orville gets back in and matches Wilbur's 175 feet. Flight 4, 12 p.m. Wilbur locks in. He stays up for 59 seconds and travels 852 feet. That's nearly 3 football fields. So next time you're on a flight, just remember, you're basically inside a giant high-speed mobile game that started in a bicycle shop in Ohio.